Part 46. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 451. After thinking about it, Zuyun thought to himself, after rescuing Li Mo, he would find a way to go to the demon control holy sect again. It seems that he can also control monsters, plus he has the talisman to change the world, so there should be no problem. As the acting master of the demon control holy sect, Yu's Haibai's status is quite high. And to sit in this position in the Danja stage, this should be considered a strong person in the Peepa realm. And since he knew the location of Muling Holy Mountain, yet he still sought death, he must have known it from within the sect. Perhaps, it has something to do with the fact that the master of the demon control holy sect doesn't ask about the sect's affairs. There is currently no clue about this matter, and there is nowhere to verify it. Zuyun can only put this issue aside. After touching his nose, Zuyun also had a strange expression. This was too much of a coincidence. First it was Zhen Wengziu, then Yu's Haibai. One is a talisman and the other is a demon tamer. If I go to the Fire Dragon sect by myself, I don't need my true identity anymore. Anyway, I can make alchemy and make utensils, so it's not a bad idea. However, at that time, I only had one talisman left to change the world. Zuyun was thinking as he squatted beside Yu's Haibai's body. His golden elixir came out of his body. Although his body was damaged, the ring in his hand was still intact. Compared to Zhen Wengziu, Yu's Haibai was much richer. After taking off the ring, Zuyun still entered the immortal mansion. After taking inventory of the items in the ring, there was nothing extra gained. After putting all the spirit stones into Zhen Wengziu's storage bag, he just put the ring on the stone table and placed it side by side with the other two, when his eyes suddenly opened again. I saw that Yu's Haibai's one was surprisingly similar to his original one. Although, the aura revealed above is slightly different, indicating that the grade of the ring is different. But Zuyun, as a weapon refiner, could also recognize that this ring was made by the same person. His ring was obtained from the Lord of Naihuo City. And according to what I heard from the monks in Counterfire City before entering the demon refining tower, a powerful nascent soul master from the Peepa realm had arrived. Putting this information together, Zuyun was shocked. Demon Control Holy Sect, Demon Refining Tower. In other words, the person behind the scenes of the Lord of Naihuo City is a member of the Demon Control Holy Sect, and his status is definitely not low. The acting sect master is already in the Dan formation stage, so a nascent soul stage. Zuyun's breathing suddenly became deeper, and he felt more and more necessary to go to the Demon Control Holy Sect. Not only to find out the secrets of Muling Holy Mountain, but also to possibly meet Zhu Feng there. Thinking of this, Zuyun immediately made a decision and pushed back his plan to go to the Fire Dragon sect again. So for now, it's better to rescue Li Mo quickly first. Zuyun left the immortal mansion, withdrew the 9 turns and 9 suns formation, and flew towards Fang City covered with stars and moon. Before dawn, Zuyun was already standing outside Fangxi. The amazing thing is that this market is always brightly lit even at night, and there are even people walking casually on the streets. 2. The overall strength of monks in the Peepa realm is relatively high, and the more resources they need. Not all monks have the natural and earthly treasures suitable for them, so trading in the market is the best option. Zuyun didn't look much, and entered the Beast Pet Pavilion directly, quickly running towards the 2nd floor. At that time, he kept an extra eye and remembered which room Zhen Wengziu had been to. According to what he saw, it was Mr. Wu that Zhen Wengziu should have met at that time. He walked straight towards Mr. Wu's room. Clang clang clang. Outside the house, Zuyun knocked lightly on the door, but his heart could not help but beat faster. Come in. As Mr. Wu's voice sounded, the door opened in response. Zuyun took a deep breath and walked into the house. Old Wu. He lowered his head and shouted. I still remember that I was also on the second floor at that time, but in that ordinary room, I looked into Mr. Wu's eyes from afar, but it was as if I was being seen through my heart. He already regarded Mr. Wu as a strong man in the nascent soul stage, so he would naturally be nervous. How is the situation? Have you found the boy? Mr. Wu was meditating just now, his eyes were a little cloudy at this time, and he asked lightly. Back to Mr. Wu, I met Yu's Haibai. Suddenly, the momentum in the room suddenly rose, and Mr. Wu's tone became much darker. Tell me, how did you deal with it? On the way here, Zuyun had thought of a countermeasure and said, Mr. Wu, the younger one caught up with Yan Laoxi and that kid all the way, and paid a huge price to kill those two people one after another. But, unexpectedly, Yu's Haibai was waiting to take advantage of it. The black sword and the demon fox were snatched away by Yu's Haibai, and the young one, only got a bottle of fire dragon pill. In order to win Mr. Wu's trust, Zuyun took out a porcelain vase. Inside, there are 20 fire dragon pills. Damn Yu's Haibai, don't let Wu meet you. Mr. Wu yelled and cursed, and a table in front of him was instantly shattered. Sawdust flew across the sky and continuously hit Zuyun's face. Zuyun was secretly frightened, fearing that these sawdust would touch his talisman of changing the world and expose his true identity, but he could not help but turn his face slightly sideways. What, are you afraid that I will anger you? Seeing Zuyun's reaction, Mr. Wu thought Zuyun was scared, so he breathed a sigh of relief and asked. Don't dare. Zuyun responded quickly. You have been following me for a long time. I can't blame you for this, I can use this fire dragon pill. Maybe it can dissolve the block demon seal in my body. By the way, the wind has been a bit tight recently. I originally wanted to send those few sword cultivators. Those who want to go to Shiwanda Mountain should give up for now. Tomorrow, you can take them to mine. Hearing this, Zuyun suddenly felt happy. Isn't this exactly what he thought? Mr. Wu, will you take them to Qingnu Town? He asked quickly. Well, let's go to Qingnu Town. I thought that this demon fox princess could make our reputation great again, but we didn't expect that something unexpected happened. We will make plans after the news has passed. I will be stationed here, and the matter of the mineral vein will be handed over. It's up to you. If we don't prepare this offering, all our hard work over the years will be in vain. I understand, little one. Zuyun didn't dare to ask more questions, as he would be wrong if he said too much. Although these words, he was very interested. But for now, rescuing Li Mo is the first priority. However, Zuyun felt weird at the thought of taking everyone from Wanjian Mountain to mine. What a twist of fate. If they were not so domineering, maybe they could join forces to resist the beast tide in Yeazhu. There is even a chance to kill Zhu Feng directly. But they never thought that Zhu Feng's whereabouts were unknown, and they could only end up in this situation. All right, those sword cultivators are in the woodshed. Talk to them first, get ready, and set off early tomorrow morning. Yes, Mr. Wu. Zuyun exited the room without any danger, but immediately rushed towards the first floor. The woodshed was at the back door, and Zuyun didn't even need to look for it before he saw Jianyi and others. Sword 1 and Jian 3 still had wounds on their faces, while Jian 4 and Jian 5's faces were filled with sadness. Apparently they knew they were going to Shiwanda Mountain from Peeper Realm. Originally, I came to Peeper Realm to pursue the Great Road, but in the end, I was treated as a coolie and was eventually sent to Shiwanda Mountain. Of course it was hard for them to accept the change from a chicken head to a phoenix tail. Ahem. Outside the door, Zuyun coughed twice, which immediately attracted the attention of these people. Deacon Zheng. Jianyi and others quickly stood up and saluted. Zuyun nodded slightly, and Jianyi said respectfully, I wonder why Deacon Zheng came here late at night. At this time, Jianyi suppressed the anger in his heart. just because they were classified as Zheng Wengzio's subordinates. I came looking for someone in the middle of the night, but the person who came was not kind. Is it possible to leave now? Good news or bad news, which one do you want to hear? Zhu Yun said lightly. All the sword cultivators were stunned. They don't think that apart from letting them regain their freedom, there is nothing good news. As everyone knows, Zhu Yun is not teasing them. But I want to slowly wear away their aspirations. If possible, it would be best to help him find Li Mo in the mine. That's all Deacon Zheng says. Kids, listen. Xianxia said with a smile. Then I'll tell you. Zhu Yun glanced at him, always feeling that something was wrong with Xianxia, but at this time he was just pretending to be Zheng Wengziu, so it was better to pretend not to see him for the time being. The good news is, you don't have to go to Ten Wandashan. What? Suddenly, everyone in the room spoke in unison, with a hint of excitement in their tone. The 100,000 mountains belong to the Yao realm, and their spiritual power is naturally inferior to that of the Peepa realm, even if the two places border on each other. Staying in the Peepa realm, no matter how low your status is, it will be easier to break through the realm. So, what about the bad news? Xianxia asked. The bad news is, you will set off with me tomorrow to dig. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 452. Inside the house. Everyone's expressions froze. They couldn't accept it. A sword cultivator known for his combat prowess, whose realm is above the pill formation stage, is actually being sent to mine? Is this even justified? The veins on their foreheads kept twitching. But due to the current situation, no one dared to make any rebuttal. Okay, Zhu Yun spread his hands and said with an indifferent expression, I just came to inform you, have a good rest, we will set off at dawn. After that, Zhu Yun left the house. A night of silence. Daybreak. Mr. Wu gave Zhu Yun a flying boat. This flying boat is twice as big as the flying boat in Wanjian Mountain, so it will not be a problem to carry these more than 10 people. I have made an agreement with Mayor King Yu. He will wait for you at the entrance of the town. Be careful on the road and don't cause any trouble. Before leaving, Mr. Wu solemnly gave instructions. Yes, I understand, little one. Zhu Yun handed over his hand, then stepped onto the flying boat, taking Jianyi and others through the sky and straight into the sky. In the sky, Zhu Yun stood at the stern of the boat, and the strong wind howled, making his clothes rustle. In front of him were a group of sword cultivators. Their backs were to Zhu Yun. They couldn't see where Zhu Yun was looking, but they were whispering. Zhu Yun had no expression on his face and looked into the distance. He knew these people were whispering to each other, but he didn't know what they were talking about. The closer he got to Qingyu town, the more worried he became about Li Mo. There is only Zheng Wengziu here. Let's attack together later and kill him. Then we can rob this flying boat and escape to heaven. Jianyi used Wan Jianshan's unique voice transmission method and said to Jiansan. Brother first, everyone has taken that inexplicable elixir. I'm afraid Zheng Wengziu can control us at any time. Jiansan looked troubled. It's not that this is impossible. But I am afraid that it will be difficult to accomplish anything. They had never seen Zheng Wengziu's methods before. But in the entire Beast Pet Pavilion, Zheng Wengziu was like the second in command. Whatever Mr. Wu had to do, he almost always left it to Zheng Wengziu. Humph, if you don't enter the tiger's den, you won't catch the tiger's cubs. Jianyi's face darkened and he said, you pass on the message one by one, and then look at my eyes. We all act together. Even if he can use that elixir to suppress us, can he suppress all of us? We are all in the elixir formation stage. With that, it is absolutely impossible for him to suppress everyone at once. Seeing that Jiansan was still hesitant, Jiansan flashed a fierce look in his eyes and said, Think about it, why did I come to Peeper Realm? It's to pursue the Great Road, and it's for the vast world of Peeper Realm, not to go there. Mining in the mines of Xianxia. Don't you want to hold the sword in your hand but the mining pick? Xianyi's voice continued to echo in Xiansan's zifu. Finally, it came together into one sentence, which struck straight into Xiansan's heart. Did you take your pick instead of the sword? Gradually, Xiansan's fists began to clench and started to tremble. Xianyi sat side by side with him, feeling secretly happy. Fighting alone, with his body suppressed, he was not completely sure he could beat Zheng Wengziu. But if everyone is allowed to attack, then he can look like a fish and escape with his life. Ah-san! Xianyi shouted again. Xiansan suddenly came to his senses, then nodded slightly and passed the words word by word to Xiansi beside him. For fear of being discovered by Zheng Wengziu, who was disguised as Zuyun, they could only stay close to Chuanyan. Soon, everyone knew Jianyi's plan, and they all suppressed the excitement in their hearts. Just because of that sentence, did your hand not want to hold the sword, but went to pick up the mining pick? Zuyun did not notice this scene. He didn't expect that Jianyi and the others would actually dare to act violently. As Jianyi suddenly gave a signal with his hand gesture, everyone on the flying boat except him suddenly jumped up, stretched out their palms and slapped Zuyun. Their swords had been taken away by Mr. Wu a long time ago. Now they are unarmed and can only use their palms as swords. One after another sword energy crisscrossed and attacked Zuyun at the back of the boat. Not good. As soon as these people moved, Zuyun secretly knew something was wrong. He reached out and took out a talisman and threw it in front of him, and he jumped up from the flying boat. Boom! Countless sword energies hit the suddenly formed shield, but out of the corner of Zuyun's eyes, he spotted a figure suddenly jumping towards the ground. The man with white hair turned out to be Jianyi. He didn't take action and escaped? The people of Wanjian Mountain all attacked to cover Jianyi's escape? In fact, once Jiansan and the others took action, they were so focused that their eyes were bursting with hatred, and they didn't even notice that Jianyi had abandoned them. Also because their strength is limited and they can only go all out. But Zuyun didn't know how to suppress them. Faced with such a combined attack at the pill-forming stage, he couldn't help but feel anxious. He knew very well that these people almost represented the top combat power of Wanjian Mountain. It is an existence that can almost sweep across the entire Yezhou. Zuyun will never be able to compete with him on his own. But fortunately, they don't have a sword in their hands, and they don't have a method like the Wuji sword art, which can make them have no sword in their hands but a sword in their hearts. It is precisely because of this that Zuyun has a chance to breathe. These people look like they are fighting together, but in fact they are fighting independently. Zuyun's mind was spinning rapidly, dodging in the air while thinking of countermeasures. The most important thing in this trip is to save Li Mo. If not, he could have escaped on his own, and I believe these people would never be able to catch up. But if he does this, he won't be able to explain it to King Newtown, and may even offend Mr. Wu. Then how can he find someone? Sudden. Zuyun's eyes fell on Jianyi who was walking away, and he suddenly had a plan in mind, and he shouted angrily. Jianyi ran away. As soon as these words came out, all the sword cultivators suddenly froze. The crazy look in his eyes receded slightly, and what's more, he was looking for traces of Jianyi. Sure enough, Jianyi is not here. Where are people? We are here desperately, but you ran away? Moreover, it was you who gave the signal to attack. What does this mean? Wanjianshan has always been united, even if they were trapped in the Beast Pet Pavilion, they would not abandon each other and advance and retreat together. Unexpectedly, the person in charge of their affairs ran away. Ran away? He's already landed. Seeing that it was useful, Zuyun was not in a hurry to take action, but immediately added fuel to the fire. It is true that he can take the opportunity to kill several people, but it will also attract attacks from others. This is not a good deal. It's better to let them fight among themselves first. Because he also felt an inexplicable emotion rising wildly on these people's faces. Brother Yi, why did he run away? Brother Yi will kill me regardless of us. Brother Yi, are you treating us as bait? We agreed to go together, but he escaped on his own. For a time, everyone almost reached a consensus. From the moment Wanjian Mountain was refined by Zhu Yun to now, the resentment finally broke out. Treacherous traitor! Get him! Thank you for trusting us so much. With all kinds of angry shouts, everyone turned into a sword light and chased away. Zhu Yun was overjoyed and was about to get back into the flying boat. When he was watching the fire from the other side, he saw another person on top of the flying boat. It's Jianzan. Deacon Zheng, you are very good at controlling people's hearts. Jianzan said with a cold face. There is only one person, and Zhu Yun is not afraid at all, even if he is at the peak of the late stage of pill formation. Aren't you angry? He asked rhetorically. Angry? Jianzan sneered and said, you are not Zhen Wengziu. Zhu Yun's pupils shrank, he didn't know how Jianzan could see it. Of course, it was impossible for him to admit it verbally. But before he could explain the previous sentence, he heard Jianzan say, after the beast pet pavilion captured us alive, they forced us to feed a pill wrapped in worms. Whether it was Mr. Wu or Zhen Wengziu, this insect is trying to torture us. But just now, we attacked together, but you just dodge. So, you are not Zhen Wengziu. Zhu Yun knew that there was a way in the pet pavilion, but he didn't know it was this way. Although I was surprised, I simply admitted it openly. Yes, I am indeed not Zhen Wengziu. Jianzan took a breath in his heart and said, then I don't know, what happened to fellow Taoist? According to my guess, Zhen Wengziu must have died at the hands of fellow Taoist, right? Zhu Yun secretly praised in his heart, this sword 3 is also powerful. Originally, he wanted to be able to do business and sneak into the mines in Qingnu Town. If possible, he would like to cooperate with these people to help find Li Mo. He didn't know what the situation was like in the mine. But back then, Ergu was imprisoned in the dark Heirizong mine. How many years did it take for him to see the light of day again? Yes, Zhen Wengziu is dead. Zhu Yun had some concerns in his mind, raised his eyebrows, and then said, I want to cooperate with you, what do you think? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 453. Cooperation, How to Cooperate. Jianzan's eyes narrowed and he stared at Zhu Yun, trying to tell something through Zhu Yun's expression. Unfortunately, this face is fake. He couldn't see it at all. I wonder if letting you leave alive is a good idea. Taking their lives as a trade, Zhu Yun took the initiative in the transaction. Since Taoist fellow Daoist is not Zhen Wengziu, how can he threaten us with his life? Jianzan narrowed his eyes, he was testing Zhu Yun. I don't have to trade. Zhu Yun said easily that he didn't want these people's lives, but he wouldn't show it. This is a verbal confrontation, and the competition is about who can take the initiative. Zhu Yun's words directly blocked Jianzan's words. Jianzan's chest began to rise and fall, as he was calculating whether he could take Zhu Yun down. He is only one person, and he is only in the elixir formation stage. But even if he didn't have the sword in his hand, his realm was not affected. But soon, Jianzan gave up this idea. Because they just joined forces and didn't hurt Zhu Yun at all. And the way he dealt with it was also a talisman. Maybe he got those weird talismans from Zhen Wengziu. Xianxia can also use talismans. As the Zaofu sect is an affiliated sect of Wanjian Mountain, he can use a lot of talismans. But whether it was the original Zhen Wengxiu or the disguised Zhen Wengxiu in front of him, the talismans used were far beyond his understanding. You win. After Jian-san pondered, he said, "What do you want us to do?" Instead of admitting defeat, he remembered that Zuyun had not taken action, which meant that he really needed his help. Then what he can do is try his best to gain some benefits for people like himself in this transaction. In addition to surviving, even being able to get some magic weapons, pills, and spirit stones would be great. Find someone. Zuyun said calmly, "I want to find someone in the mine in Qingnu Town. If I can find him, then I will naturally find a way to let you leave. You know, since I killed Zhen Wengxiu, then I will have to fight with the beast Chang Ji has made a grudge. There is no need to say more about what follows." Zuyun believes that Jian-san can understand. You can find someone, but, you still need to put in a little effort. Jian-san said, looking down at the flying boat. The other sword cultivators, headed by Jian-si, frantically intercepted the escaping Jian-yi. Dead or alive? Zuyun raised his eyebrows and showed an imperceptible smile. Whatever. After Jian-san finished speaking, he turned over and rushed straight off the flying boat, chasing after Jian-yi. Zuyun knew that Jian-yi had aroused public anger, and only by killing him could the others calm down and let Jian-san do their work for them. And he can also establish his authority by killing Jian-yi. However, he cannot expose the Chaos Sword for the time being, otherwise he cannot guarantee whether these people will turn against him in an instant. He has no means to restrain them, and the reason why Jian-san is still afraid is because he is afraid that he will inform Mr. Wu. But that would be a dead end, and no one would benefit. So if you want to make good use of them to find Li Mo, you really should do your part. Zuyun reached into his arms and took out an Ice Tornado Talisman. The Fire Phoenix Talisman and the Heaven Gathering Thunder Talisman have become almost unique to me, and these people have all seen them before. Except for the Ice Tornado. However, without the Chaos Sword, he can still use the Wuji Sword technique. Zuyun took out the fan from the storage bag. Flying flowers and picking leaves can be turned into swords. This fan is also a top-grade magic weapon after all. Zuyun controlled the flying boat to turn sharply downward and fly directly in front of Jian-yi. At this time, Jian-yi did not dare to fight with these people. Being alone and without a sword, the gap in strength was completely eliminated. Not to mention, these people are all extremely angry. Jian-yi had no idea how he could be discovered by them if he was so hidden. Until Jian-san chased after him and roared, "Brother Yi, this is the last time I call you this. I said we would advance and retreat together, but I didn't expect you to betray your trust and use us to cover you. If I don't kill you today, it will be hard to vent the feelings of the brothers' hate." Jianzan said this very skillfully. In addition to arousing public anger against Jian-yi, it can also establish his own prestige. He already believed Zuyun and would let him and others leave after helping him find someone. In the difficult situation of Peeper Realm, moving forward as a team is the best way. Then, letting him lead everyone is the best way. "Ah-san, I am looking for help, you have misunderstood." There was so much hatred in Jian-yi's heart, but he didn't dare to say anything too extreme at this time, lest he add fuel to the fire. It's a pity that these people will never believe in Jian-yi again. The words I uploaded to Fiashu earlier were so high-sounding, but in the end, they were all deceptions. Now, how long do you want to lie to us? Yesterday, I saw you secretly taking some pills. I asked you what pills they were, but you fooled me casually. It's a shame that I believed you. Jian-san said angrily. This is the truth. Jian-yi's elixir was given to everyone by Mr. Wu. Jian-san doesn't even know what effect it has. But at this time Jian-yi has lost his trust, so Jian-san will naturally think of the worst in everything. Even if what he said was wrong, as long as it aroused everyone's emotions, it was enough. You actually have a pill. I am so careful with my spiritual power, and you still have pills. Jian-yi, what do you think we are? Sure enough, when Jian-san finished speaking, everyone was indignant and kept scolding. Jian-yi's face was extremely ugly. He ate and refined all the pills, and his strength felt much better. But he felt an inexplicable force appearing in the purple mansion. He didn't dare to move rashly. But the others didn't know. Since being captured, they couldn't even keep their swords, let alone other resources. Each pill is precious. At this time, Jian-yi had a lot of pain in his heart. He was hesitating whether to force these people to chase him back, when a flame suddenly fell from the sky. Who? Jian-yi was horrified. The flames came very fast. When he saw that he was about to hit him, he hurriedly took a sword step and barely avoided the attack of the flames. But before he could stand firm, Zuyun fell from the sky. An endless sword force has locked onto him. He looked over quickly, and saw a Mars falling from the sky, smashing straight down at him. Is this a sword technique? Instantly, Jian-yi had this question in his mind. Zuyun's posture was a move from the sky. However, the folding fan in his hand looked like a short sword. Moreover, he used the power of chaos to condense the spiritual power of the fire system. He didn't know that Zuyun's Xianxia was a fake. This attack had a very wide range, and Jian-yi knew that he couldn't dodge it no matter how he used the sword steps. Behind him, Jian-san and Jian-si were chasing him, so he simply made up his mind, turned his palm into a sword, and rushed towards Zuyun. The only thing he could hope for was that his realm could surpass Zuyun. At the critical moment, when he was about to meet Zuyun with a palm and a fan, Zuyun suddenly changed his moves. In the firelight, Jian-yi saw a face with a contemptuous smile. When he realized something was wrong, the fire suddenly rose, and a sea of fire suddenly appeared with the fan as the center. Zuyun also turned over and landed, and did not directly meet Jian-yi. At the same time, he opened the fan with a bang and fanned the sea of fire. Hula! The sea of fire surged with the wind and instantly engulfed Jian-yi. Ah! A scream came, and the fire had already attached to Jian-yi's whole body. Zuyun backhanded and fanned again, and the fire rose again. For this attack, Zuyun used two other fire spirit powers. The outermost layer was the fire spirit power transformed from his chaotic power. And this sea of fire used the pure fire power in the fire spirit pearl. He did not try whether the flame of the chaotic power would be blessed by this fan. In order to prevent it from being ineffective, he chose to use the fire in the fire spirit pearl. This has been verified. Zuyun stood quietly under the sea of fire. Jian-san led everyone and stood not far away. Except for Jian-san, the others all looked puzzled, looking at Zuyun and occasionally looking up at the sea of fire. The screams gradually faded. Jian-san finally spoke. Brothers, Jian-yi is dead, I wonder what you are going to do. These words were like waking up a person from a dream. Jian-si and others all looked tense, looking at Zuyun with unfriendly expressions. Jian-san spoke again. Brothers, this is not Xianxia. What? Everyone screamed in unison. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 454. At the same moment, eyes focused on Zuyun. I saw. Zuyun smiled slightly and said, you don't need to know who I am. If Jian-yi hadn't suddenly led you to take action, I would have planned to discuss cooperation in the mine. Cooperate. Hearing these two words that were extremely unfamiliar to them, they were in a trance for a while. In Ye's who? Wang Jianshan never needs to cooperate with others. Yes, just use it. Just like the magic wheel sect. In the end, the sect was almost wiped out by them. Yes, cooperation. At this time, Jian-san said, what this fellow Taoist means is to go to the mine in Qingyu town to help him find a friend. If he finds one, he will let us leave safely. Xianxia couldn't help but interrupt, third brother, if we leave, can't we do it now? Since he is not Zheng Wengziu, we don't need to worry about the bugs in his body. Yes, third brother. What kind of cooperation are we talking about? Qingyu town is obviously the territory of the pet pavilion, and since it is the location of the mine, it must be heavily guarded. It's easy for us to get in, but it's not that easy to get out. Third brother, this person can actually turn into Zheng Wengziu's face without being discovered by Mr. Wu. He must be a cunning person. Cooperating with him is tantamount to seeking the skin of a tiger. A group of people, each expressing their own opinions. But Zhu Yun was unmoved and just looked at Jian-san quietly. He knew that Jian-san would persuade these people. Shut up, everyone. Sure enough, Jian-san suddenly shouted angrily, and everyone stopped immediately. Short-sighted. Do you think that if we run away now, we can leave safely? After Jian-san finished speaking, his eyes swept across the group of people. Before these people could speak, Jian-san continued, don't blame me for speaking directly. We know that this fellow Taoist is not Zheng Wengziu, but Mr. Wu doesn't know. Speaking of Mr. Wu, a flash of fear flashed in everyone's eyes. They are very aware of the horror of Mr. Wu. When they first arrived at Peeper Realm, the first enemy they met was Mr. Wu. Along the way, I met many monks. But almost every time during the Dan formation period, when seeing a group of them, they would always take a detour. Only Mr. Wu. It was obvious that he was only in the pill forming stage, but he suppressed them all by himself. Not only did they take away their respective natal magic swords, but they also force-fed them insect poison. Moreover, they were made to feel the pain of an insecticide attack on the spot. Thinking of this, their faces turned a little pale. There were even a few people who kept touching their lower abdomens. Obviously, the bug is in the lower abdomen and is parasitic in their golden elixir. Because of this, they never thought of escaping from the pet pavilion. At this time, they were far away from the pet pavilion, and Zhu Yun was not Zheng Wengziu, so they naturally wanted to take advantage of this moment to get away. Zhu Yun also spoke up at the right time, saying, fellow Jianzan is right. In terms of strength, I am not as good as the others, and in terms of realm, I am also the lowest. But you can definitely try. Can you kill him before I notify Mr. Wu? What about me? The sword cultivators finally calmed down. They were fighting on the flying boat just now. They gathered everyone's strength to attack violently, but Zhu Yun defeated them one by one. No matter what method he used, it could at least prove that they could not kill him before Zhu Yuntong reported the news. So, Jian-san and Zhu Yun had already reached a consensus on Fia's Hu, and now there was an invisible tacit understanding. He and Zhu Yun naturally stood on the same front, follow this fellow Taoist to Qingyu town, help him find someone. I believe fellow Taoists will help us out by then, right? Jian-san looked at Zhu Yun and winked at him. Zhu Yun understood that no matter what happens in the future, the most important thing is to find Li Mo first, and he nodded. Sorry, third brother, we misunderstood you. Third brother, we all listen to you. Third brother, you are the only one who really thinks about us. These people immediately changed their tune. Compared with Jian Yi, Jian-san usually holds the sword-hilt platform and has a closer relationship with these elders. Jian-san smiled and said, it doesn't matter, some things should be stated openly. Don't be like Jian Yi, who doesn't say anything, keeps us in the dark, and only wants to seek benefits for himself. They have all lived in the elixir formation stage for hundreds of years, and they can figure it out with just a few words. Jian Si stood up first, cupped his hands towards Zhu Yun and said, Fellow Taoist, please forgive me. We have been oppressed for too long. Zuyun waved his hand and said calmly, it doesn't matter, although our purposes are different, at least the enemy is the same. Now everyone gets what they want, which is why I didn't take action to kill you on the flying boat. I must have just now, you can see clearly that Xianxia is not a strong enemy to me. When Xianxia was mentioned again, everyone couldn't help but tense up. Indeed, Xianxia is the strongest person among them. Even if he doesn't have a sword in his hand, that realm actually exists. The most important thing is that he secretly took a bottle of elixir, but was killed by Zuyun with one move. What's more, Zuyun is no weaker than Xianxia in terms of talisman. Speaking of it at this time, they felt it even more deeply. Now that we've agreed, let's continue setting off. We've wasted a lot of time, so Mayor Qingyu won't be suspicious. Zuyun stretched out his hand and controlled the flying boat to land. Needless to say, a group of sword cultivators boarded the boat one after another. With one less person, it seemed that the whole flying boat became much more spacious. I don't know if there was indeed one less person, or if their minds became relaxed. Continuing forward, Zuyun did not speak. But these sword cultivators began to discuss what to do after regaining their freedom. Some said that they should stay in Peeper Realm to look for opportunities. Others said that if they stayed with the worm in their bodies and ran into Old Wu again, wouldn't they be caught again? Some even said that they should return to Yeazhu first, and it would be best to find Jian and others, practice together, and brainstorm to solve the worm in the golden elixir. There were many different opinions, and Zuyun just listened and did not express his opinion. It was even more impossible to tell them that Jian group might all be dead, leaving only Jian Shizhu. The entrance of Qingyu town. A blue-clothed cultivator had an extremely cold face. He stood alone, looking far into the distance. He did not take out a jade slip until a flying boat approached, and tapped it 3 times gently. Arrived. The voice of Elder Wu came from the other end. Yes, Elder Wu, the people are here. Very good, Elder Wu said, let's see what Xianxia is going to do. Elder Wu, why don't you just kill Xianxia? Because, Xianxia is not the original Xianxia. When I came back yesterday, I couldn't feel his soul imprint. Elder Wu, when will you come? A fake Xianxia, do you still need me to take action? As soon as the words came to this, the jade slip was silent. The blue-clothed monk stuffed the jade slip back into his arms, and until the flying boat landed, he smiled and greeted it. Deacon Zheng, it's been a long time since we last met. How are you? Ha ha ha, you're welcome, you're welcome. Zuyun laughed, and then shouted at the flying boat, get off. Jian-san and others knew that they were going to start acting, so they cooperated very well. With an expression of daring to be angry but not to speak, they lined up to get off the boat one by one. Hey, didn't they say there were 11 people? Why are there only 10? The mayor of Qingyu town had a gleam in his eyes. This was something that neither he nor Old Wu had thought of. Old Wu had told him that these people were very likely to all escape, but they could also come to Qingyu town together. But he didn't say there would be fewer people. Oh, the strongest one actually tried to escape on the road, and I killed him. Zuyun said nonchalantly. Don't know whether you live or die, and you still want to run. The mayor of Qingyu town was unmoved, but in fact he kept a watchful eye. He couldn't be sure whether they were really running or pretending to run, and he didn't dare to make a conclusion. He could only find an opportunity to inform Old Wu first. Deacon Zheng, business is more important. Arrange them to work in the mine first. I have prepared a banquet and will welcome Deacon Zheng later. Ha ha ha, you're welcome. Zuyun first bowed and said politely, then asked, how to arrange that person? 2 mines, should they be separated or put in one mine? Of course they should be separated. Although these people have taken corpse worm pills, they can't gather together. As he said, he waved his hand, and several Jindan early-stage cultivators dressed in the same uniform rushed out of a small house at the corner of the town wall. They held a pick in one hand and a chain in the other. The pick is used for mining, and as for this chain, it has the effect of binding spirits and will limit their ability to use spiritual power. After that, these cultivators put it on the ankles of the sword cultivators one by one. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 455. Okay, come with me. After these men put the shackles on the sword cultivators, Mayor Qingyu clapped his hands and said, "Please." The two of them walked side by side. In order not to reveal that he already knew Zhu Yunfei himself, Mayor Qingyu didn't ask any more questions, or even said a word about the pet pavilion. Due to such deliberate actions, the atmosphere was extremely harmonious. But the situation for the sword cultivators was not so easy. Because these shackles actually suppressed their control of spiritual power. Just like before, the spiritual power they could use was the big river, but now they can use the small ditch. In other words, these spiritual powers only allow them to mine with mining picks. Going deep into the town, Zhu Yun found that there were almost no outsiders in the town. I saw quite a few monks, some in the elixir forming stage, some in the foundation building stage, and even some in the chi refining stage. But everyone is wearing similar standard protective clothing. It seems that this is Mr. Wu's territory without a doubt. Zhu Yun secretly thought. Not long after, a group of people had reached the foot of a mountain, and a dark cave entrance was revealed in front of them. You. Mayor Qingyu seemingly randomly named 5 people and said, "You enter this mine, and they will tell you the rules here later." After the words fell, several people entered the cave with the named sword cultivators. Deacon Zheng, the remaining people will go over there. Mayor Qingyu walked forward and said with a smile. Zhu Yun smiled and nodded, saying, "Since you are here, of course it is entirely up to the mayor to make the decision." Deacon Zheng is so polite. Mayor Qingyu didn't show any clues at all. Although Zhu Yun was vigilant, he couldn't help but feel a little relaxed. He thought Mayor Qingyu didn't recognize him, but he didn't know that Elder Wu had discovered him when he entered the pet pavilion. After arranging another group of sword cultivators, Mayor Qingyu brought Zhu Yun to his mansion. What surprised Zhu Yun was that the mansion was also built at the foot of the mountain. Although there is some distance between the two mines, if an incident occurs, he will surely be able to get there quickly. Zhu Yun couldn't help but fell into deep thought. On the way here, he had already made an agreement with Jian and others. After entering the mine, the first task is to help find Li Mo. Zhu Yun had already told them about Li Mo's characteristics. Moreover, he also said that he was from the Liwo sect. At that time, a look of surprise flashed across the faces of all the sword cultivators. The Liwo sect was the first sect they destroyed in Chuzhu. But Zhu Yun also knew about this, so he hid it very well. Jian and others did not dare to reveal their secrets, so they secretly decided not to ask too many questions. Zhu Yun had no choice. With more people and greater strength, if he wanted to find Li Mo faster, the only ones he could use right now were these sword cultivators. But at this time, what he was worried about was that these people were restricted by shackles, and he didn't know whether things would progress well. Unless, he can kill Mayor Qingyu. Thinking of this, Zhu Yun thought about the feasibility of this matter. If he wanted to kill him, he would only have one breath at most. We can't let Mayor Qingyu make any noise, let alone let him tip off Mr. Wu. Deacon Zheng, long time no see. The banquet is ready. Come in and chat. A burst of laughter interrupted Zhu Yun's contemplation. He nodded quickly and said, "The mayor is welcome." "Ha ha ha, it's you who are being polite." Mayor Qingyu led Zhu Yun into the mansion and said, "I'll go clean it up. Deacon Zheng can just sit down and sit there." Having said that, Mayor Qingyu actually threw Zuyun Duda down, and he walked through the courtyard to the side room in the back with twists and turns. Zuyun said secretly in his heart, "So relaxed, it seems that you really didn't notice me." Simply, he used the void-breaking spirit eye technique to see if there was any formation in the courtyard. Little did they know that Mayor Qingyu left Zuyun to inform Mr. Wu. "Mr. Wu, one of the sword cultivators we sent is missing. According to the person pretending to be Zhen Wengziu, one of them wanted to escape on the way, so he killed him." On the other side of the jade slip, Mr. Wu's expression was extremely gloomy. "Humph, I managed to capture these sword cultivators. Whether they are dead or alive, I have lost one coolie. How is the situation now?" Mayor Qingyu explained his arrangement in detail. "Haha, okay, very good." Mr. Wu laughed loudly and said, "Do you still have corpse insect pills over there?" "You mean, let him swallow the corpse insect pills?" Mayor Qingyu slapped his forehead. In the past, they had captured monks and forcibly fed them corpse insect pills, but they had never used this poisoning method. Of course, if there is only one person left to dig, let him do it. No matter what his purpose is, let him dig for 3 to 5 years first, and then wear down his spirit. If you dare to pretend to be Zhen Wengziu, huh? Yes, Mr. Wu, I'll do it now. Putting away the jade slip, Mayor Qingyu took out a porcelain vase from his arms, called another person, and handed the porcelain vase over. "All the food and drinks, take one." "Mayor, is this too much?" The men looked surprised. Corpse worm pills are very laborious to refine. Not only must the eggs be refined into medicine, but the eggs must also be ensured to hatch alive in the stomach of the person who swallows them, and infiltrate into the golden elixir. Many. A grim smile appeared on Mayor Qingyu's face. Only in this way will he be able to swallow it with confidence. "Yes, Mayor." The men hurriedly retreated to prepare, and the Mayor of Qingyu also returned to the courtyard. "Deacon Zheng, I've kept you waiting for a long time. I just asked, and the banquet is still lacking, so I went to prepare it." "You're not in a hurry, right?" When he saw Zuyun, the mayor said with a smile. "No hurry, no hurry. The mayor will arrange it." Zuyun was happy to stay in the courtyard. He had discovered several formations here. However, these formations were extremely simple and had limited effects. Most of them were some soundproof prohibitions. Could it be that this mayor usually has some things that are not visible to the public? "Ha ha ha, okay, please come this way." Following the mayor, we walked around a stone road and walked to the back of the courtyard. Suddenly, there was a small lake in front of us. The lake was sparkling, and some lotus leaves were clustered together, which was a pleasing place to the eyes. In the lake, there was a pavilion, and a plank road led directly to the shore. "Please," the mayor made a gesture and turned back to shout, "Come on, serve the fragrant tea." Zuyun was in high spirits, but he did not change his expression. He walked with the mayor of Qingyu all the way to the center of the pavilion. Sitting opposite, two female chi-refining cultivators, dressed very coolly and gracefully, soon came and presented a set of cups and a pot of tea. "Mr. Mayor, distinguished guests, please have tea." The two women cooperated seamlessly, one distributed cups and the other brewed tea for the two. "Deacon Zheng, how about trying this tea? This is the unique spiritual tea of my Qingyu town." Zuyun nodded secretly. When the tea was still in the pot, he smelled a very fragrant spiritual power. At this time, the fragrance was even stronger when it was poured into the cup. However, he still took a look with the Pakuling Jingju, and there was nothing unusual about the tea. Seeing that the mayor of Qingyu drank it in one gulp, he also raised the cup and took a sip. The aroma immediately filled his mouth, and after swallowing it, the aroma seemed to fill his whole body. "Good tea." Zuyun felt refreshed and couldn't help but praise. "Of course. King Newtown Mayor smiled and said, "This tea is picked by me every morning before dawn, sending virgin female cultivators who are not more than 20 years old to the mountain. Therefore, this town mayor named this tea King Newzao. In addition, there are 3 things that this tea should not be picked. Don't pick it without dew. Don't pick it when it is exposed to sunlight. Don't pick it on the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month." Zuyun was surprised and asked, "Is there such a way to tea?" Of course, King Newtown Mayor laughed and said, "Deacon Zheng is not a tea lover, of course he can't understand the mystery. Just like I don't understand talismans, and I don't understand why Deacon Zheng has to burn incense and bathe every time he draws talismans." Zuyun felt strange, why all of Wu Lao's subordinates have quirks. He doesn't understand the tea ceremony. But for the talisman, I always draw whenever I want, and I draw so many of them. It's a good thing I don't have it. Otherwise, just the 7 skills, each one has to be practiced before the other, how much time would it waste? But on his face, Zuyun could only smile and say, "The mayor is still particular. I draw talismans to calm my mind." At this time, a man suddenly came to the shore and reported loudly to the pavilion, "Mayor, the banquet is ready." King New Mayor waved his hand, indicating that he knew. Zuyun was also ready to get up and go, but was stopped by the mayor. "Since Deacon Zheng thinks this tea is good, why not drink a few more cups? After drinking this cup, there are still 3 cups." As she said, the female cultivator holding the teapot immediately filled Zuyun's teacup. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 456. Zuyun secretly felt something was wrong. He didn't know what the temper of Mayor Qingyu was like. Zhen Wengziu and he worked for Old Wu together, so they should be quite familiar with each other. Why were they so polite? Suddenly, Zuyun was shocked, thinking that he had been led into a trap unconsciously. He didn't know Mayor Qingyu at all, and didn't even know his name at this time, but he sat down with him and drank a few cups of tea. Not right? Zuyun instantly became sober. Mayor Qingyu was repeatedly confirming whether he was the real person. And now it seems that he must have been discovered. Zuyun's eyes condensed slightly, and he quickly recalled the situation from the first time he met Mayor Qingyu to now. It seems that from the beginning, Mayor Qingyu has kept a certain distance from him. In this case, he should have discovered it long ago. Then this tea. He looked down at the cup on the stone table and used the breaking void spirit eye technique again. There was nothing unusual. There was no poison in the previous cup of tea. Could it be that I made a mistake? Zuyun was secretly surprised and a little confused. Everything seemed to be so normal, but this was the biggest abnormality. It seemed that he had to be careful next time. I wonder if Jian-san and the others helped to find Li Mo after entering the mine. I also need time. No matter what, it is better to delay for a while. After figuring out the key, Zuyun no longer worried about whether Mayor Qingyu recognized him. Just be careful and pay attention to your own safety. At worst, tear your face and do it yourself. Thinking of this, Zuyun picked up the teacup and drank the tea in it. Ha ha ha, this is good tea, I can't ask for it. Seeing Zuyun so straightforward, Mayor Qingyu also laughed, and the maid who was practicing qi also filled Zuyun with 2 more cups according to the instructions. After drinking, Mayor Qingyu simply stood up and said, "Please." After drinking tea, there is also good wine. Okay, okay. Zuyun was not polite and followed Mayor Qingyu back to the original place, and then crossed the courtyard to another garden. A table of banquets had been set up on an open space in the middle of the garden. Some hot dishes seemed to have just come out of the oven, and the aroma was fragrant. Zuyun, who had no appetite, was also salivating. But he still looked around. The flowers were ordinary flowers, but they were carefully arranged. Even he, a male cultivator, thought these flowers were extremely beautiful, but he always felt that something was missing. Of course, he would not bring it up. At this time, he would only pay attention to what tricks Mayor Qingyu would play. Unexpectedly, after Mayor Qingyu took Zuyun to sit down, he clapped his hands lightly. Suddenly, from a small intersection behind a bush, more than a dozen dancers dressed coolly and slightly made up emerged in an instant. I saw that these dancers were no more than 20 years old, and they were only in the qi refining stage. As they danced gracefully, waves of virgin fragrance quietly filled Zuyun's nostrils. Faintly, Zuyun actually felt that these dancers were like cups of freshly brewed Qingyu Zhao. Ha ha ha, Deacon Zheng, these are not ordinary vulgar women, they are all tea pickers here. At this time, the mayor of Qingyu suddenly smiled triumphantly, and Zuyun seemed to come back to his senses. No wonder, this fragrance seems familiar. Looking at it again, the whole garden is natural again, nothing is missing. Now Zuyun understood. What the garden lacks is dancers. But why did the mayor of Qingyu make such a big show? To please me? This is impossible. Zuyun immediately denied this guess. Even if the mayor of Qingyu recognized that he was not Zheng Wengziu, he didn't know who he was. If he wants something from me, he should at least know what benefits I can bring to him, right? Then, is it confusion? I am a cultivator in the Jindan stage after all, how could I be obsessed with women? This is impossible. Zuyun couldn't figure out the reason in his heart, so he simply stopped thinking about it. No matter how many tricks you have, I will remain unmoved. Why, Deacon Zheng, don't you like it? Seeing Zuyun's eyes were absent-minded for a moment, a strange color flashed in the eyes of the mayor of Qingyu, and he asked deliberately. Since she is a tea girl, of course it is best to go to pick tea. Didn't the mayor just say that Qingyu has 3 things that it doesn't pick, and non-virgins are one of them? So that's it. After listening to Zuyun's words, the mayor of Qingyu smiled heartily and said, Deacon Zheng is not only chaste, but also able to sit in the arms of a woman without being confused. He is worthy of being a favorite of Mr. Wu. Come on. As he said that, he clapped his hands again. Several more female cultivators, holding various musical instruments, walked out of the flower path on the other side. However, these female cultivators are completely different from the dancers. Not only are their realms higher, but their auras are also completely opposite. It would be a bit too much to say that they are unrestrained, but their gestures are extremely charming. Hello, Mayor. Hello, distinguished guest. The female cultivators stood in a group, bowed slightly to the two, and said in unison. Okay, you play the music, and they continue to dance. After the voice fell, these female cultivators each took their positions, and the zither and harp played a desolate sound. Mayor Qingyu looked at Zuyun again, and when he was about to invite him to eat and drink, he found that Zuyun was staring at the group of female musicians in a daze. Suddenly, he concentrated and followed Zuyun's gaze, landing on the girl in charge of playing the flute. This woman has a beautiful face and is extremely outstanding. Although she is only in the foundation building stage, she is naturally charming. Even when he saw her for the first time, he was almost fascinated by her. I didn't expect that this kid's taste is the same as mine. After a little thought, Mayor Qingyu came up with a plan. After coughing twice, Zuyun suddenly came back to his senses and blushed. Deacon Zheng, he is a member of the family and does not speak the same language. Whichever one you like, just tell me. Zuyun felt his cheeks getting hot, raised his chopsticks, picked some food at random and stuffed it into his mouth to cover up his embarrassment. Mayor Qingyu's eyes suddenly flashed with light. He ate it. In addition to being overjoyed, Mayor Qingyu laughed again, taking the opportunity to attract Zhu Yun's attention. He stood up and pointed at the flute-playing girl and said, "Come here and sit next to this distinguished guest." The music girl trembled all over, and her face turned extremely pale. Mayor Qingyu said in such a tone that he could hardly hold the jade xiao in his hand. Zhu Yun wanted to open his mouth to save the situation, but knew that it was not easy to speak at this time, so he could only remain silent. In fact, when he recognized her, Zhu Yun wondered if he could rescue her. In the process of dealing with the people in the pet pavilion, Zhu Yun has discovered that these people do not treat people as human beings. They can even force-feed a fox demon to take the transformation pill and then provide it for people's pleasure, so what else is there that they don't dare to do? Moreover, it was auctioned openly in the market. As early as Shiwen Das Han, he heard Qiu Qi and Fox King say that their clan's biggest enemy was the human monks in the Peeper realm. Come to think of it, this is all done by the Beast Pet Pavilion. In the middle of his anger, there was a person sitting next to him. The familiar aroma hit his face, and Zhu Yun turned his head to look. There were tears in her eyes, but she couldn't stop the look of absolute death that appeared from time to time. The helplessness on her face silently told how humiliated she had been. "Deacon Zheng, my servant, I'll pour you some wine." She stood up again and filled Zhu Yun's wine glass. "That's pretty much it? Deacon Zheng is not only my colleague, but also my honored guest." Mayor Qingyu changed his face very quickly and said with a smile again, "Come on, Deacon Zheng, I'll give you a toast." When Le Nu finished pouring the wine, Mayor Qingyu grabbed the wine bottle and filled it for himself. Although Zhu Yun was a little distracted because he met an acquaintance, he still remained calm at all times. When he saw Mayor Qingyu pouring wine from the same jug as him, he stopped thinking about it and raised his wine glass. "Please." The two drank at the same time. Mayor Qingyu wiped his mouth and said, "It's great. It's been a long time since I drank with someone. Deacon Zheng, come and try other dishes." As he spoke, he turned the disc between the wine tables and brought the rest of the dishes to Zhu Yun. There is no poison in the wine, and it can even be said that the wine is extremely good. There was nothing strange about the food I just ate. He secretly thought in his heart, Mayor Qingyu invited him to drink good tea, entertained her with good wine and food, and even sent his daughter into his arms. Could it be that he really wanted something from me? Zhu Yun has been guessing the purpose of Mayor Qingyu. Of course, he can't reveal his identity until he can't be sure. And Mayor Qingyu didn't shy away from it. He would pick up whatever food was in front of him and eat it. Not to mention, there was only one wine bottle on the table. The same goes for the wine you drank. This made Zhu Yun unable to think of continuing to use the Shattering Void spiritual eye technique until a strange movement came from his lower abdomen. He was shocked and found that strange movement was coming from the seed, and his expression suddenly changed. At this moment, Mayor Qingyu suddenly laughed crazily and revealed his ferocious face. "Congratulations to this fellow Taoist for winning the corpse insect pill unique to our Beast Pet Pavilion. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 457. Zombie Pill. Zhu Yun was shocked. He knew why Jianyi and others were restricted by the Beast Pet Pavilion. It was because they were force-fed corpse insect pills. Jian-san told him that after the corpse insect pill enters the abdomen, the insect will hatch and then burrow into the golden elixir. Zheng Wengxiu and Mr. Wu both have the ability to control insects, so they can control them to death. With Mayor Qingyu's reaction now, he not only recognized that he was not Zheng Wengxiu, but also knew how to control insects. Thinking of this, Zhu Yun calmed down. Why is Mayor Qingyu so hospitable? I think he is confusing him, so Zhu Yun relaxes his vigilance and takes the zombie pill. Earlier in the small pavilion in the lake, the corpse insect pills were not put into the tea, which was the first step to dispel his vigilance. Secondly, there is this garden. The unique arrangement, coupled with the arrival of dancers and musicians, is just to disturb his mind. Finally, when he recognized the girl, he simply asked her to sit next to him and serve her while drinking. Mayor King knew, what a profound plan. Zhu Yun said coldly, then stood up and said, "Why is it okay if you drink the same wine and eat the same dishes as me?" At this time, he used the art of breaking the void spirit eyes, and then he discovered that there was a very small insect egg hidden in both the wine and the dishes on the table. Since fellow Taoist asked such a question, he must have figured it out. Mayor King felt that he had a chance to win, so he stood up and stroked his beard, and said with a smile, "I am originally from Mr. Wu, so I can naturally get the antidote by taking the corpse insect pills that Mr. Wu only uses. On the contrary, when the corpse insect burrows into your golden elixir, that will be the day when I am done." Dive into the golden elixir? Zhu Yun's face froze and he quickly looked inward towards his lower abdomen. He could guess that Mayor King would never take action at this time because it was unnecessary. According to him, it would only take a moment before he would be restrained by the corpse pill, and it would be meaningless whether to fight or not. However, under this interview, Zhu Yun was surprised at first, and then suddenly overjoyed. "I was surprised because I was drinking and eating vegetables, and the seeds were surrounded by insect eggs. But the happy thing is that after he discovered these egg-shaped insects, there was nothing he could do with his seeds." After thinking about it for a moment, Zhu Yun understood. In other elixir formation stages, golden elixirs are formed. And the golden elixir has no protection. But the seeds that have been condensed by themselves have a seed coat. Even one's own spiritual consciousness cannot penetrate this kind of skin. If you want to enter it, you can only go through the gap. What I saw at this time was the kind of skin that sealed the gap. Therefore, even if those corpse insects are surrounded by seeds, there is nothing they can do. However, although this can protect him from corpse insect attacks, it temporarily prevents Zhu Yun from using the power of chaos. But Zhu Yun also discovered that the lines engraved on the seed coat were slowly lighting up, as if to suppress these corpse insects. He could see that these corpse insects seemed to be affected and very uneasy. While twisting wildly, he tried hard to get into the seed. Obviously, these corpse insects know that they will only be safe if they enter the seeds. "How's it going? Can you see clearly? Are there a lot of bugs in your golden elixir?" Mayor King obviously knew that Zhu Yun had seen the situation clearly, and the old god said on the ground, "When did you realize that I was not Zhen Wengziu?" Thinking that nothing happened, Zhu Yun said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoist, it's too little to take our animal pet pavilion seriously." Mayor King directly picked up the wine bottle, raised his head slightly and took a sip, saying, "I knew it when you came. In fact, Mr. Wu will know what kind of person Mr. Wu is when you return to the Beast Pet Pavilion. It's not that easy for you to get through with just a pill-forming stage. Merely." Zhu Yun frowned and asked in a deep voice, "Mr. Wu is in the nascent soul stage?" "Yes and no." Mayor King was in a good mood and answered every question Zhu Yun had. In his opinion, Zhu Yun would soon become one of the many miners. Miners in Qingyu town generally have only one way out. Just mine until your lifespan is exhausted. Mr. Wu is already half infant. If he reaches the nascent soul stage, no one in this Peeper realm will be able to stop him. By then, Li Qingyu, will be able to soar into the sky, and everyone in the Peeper realm will be able to do it for me. Used. It turns out your name is Li Qingyu. Zhu Yun doesn't care what his name is. Now that he has broken his skin, and Li Qingyu doesn't take him seriously, he can take action at any time. However, Zhu Yun is still waiting. Wait until Li Qingyu can help him delay for more time. Just let him inform Mr. Wu. In this way, after he can capture Li Qingyu, he will have more time to find Li Mo, and even take her out. However, the chaos power in the seeds cannot be used, and there is not much chaos remaining in the body's meridians, so all methods are greatly restricted. Just when Zuyun was planning how to take action, he suddenly found that there was less movement in his lower abdomen. He quickly looked inside and couldn't help but be overjoyed. Under the illumination of the patterned light, more than half of the zombie insects that besieged the seeds died. Under such circumstances, Zuyun couldn't help but feel ecstatic. But he was very smart and didn't show it on his face. But even so, Li Qingyu still found some clues. However, he thought that the corpse insect had penetrated into Zuyun's golden elixir. Ha ha ha, let you enjoy some freedom again. He laughed loudly, took out the sound transmission jade talisman from his waist, and said, "Old Wu, it's done." Zuyun was even happier. He was waiting for this, so that Old Wu would relax his vigilance and not rush here. According to what Li Qingyu said, Old Wu's strength is so terrifying. It is said that if he really reaches the nascent soul stage, he can unify the Peeper realm. Subconsciously, Zuyun absolutely does not believe it. But in this situation, he can only make the worst plan. It is better to believe it than not to believe it. Very good. Let this kid mine first, and I will come to Qingyu town after I finish the things in my hands. Old Wu's voice came from the jade slip, and with just this sentence, it was silent. Li Qingyu grinned, "Show your true face, don't blame me for using force." Zuyun looked at him steadily, and according to the speed of killing corpse worms according to the lines on the seeds, at most 10 breaths, all those corpse worms can be killed. Rather than waiting to be discovered by Li Qingyu, he might as well turn over the table and fight. Although Old Wu only said one sentence, the information revealed was what Zuyun wanted. In the short term, he will not come to Qingyu town, so he will naturally not contact Li Qingyu. What else is there to say? Zuyun stretched out his hand and wiped his face, directly pulling off the invisible earth-changing talisman, revealing his true face. "Friend Yun." Beside him, the girl screamed in shock, and also recognized Zuyun. "Shibola, long time no see." After that, Zuyun put his hands on the edge of the table and turned over to Li Qingyu. "Boy, you are looking for death." Zuyun was straightforward, and Li Qingyu didn't expect him to take action. With a loud shout, he immediately used the insect control formula. But these corpse insects did not drill into Zuyun's seeds, and they had no effect at all. It was only a breath of time, and Li Qingyu had already found something wrong. But at such a close distance, this breath was enough for Zuyun to counterattack. Before the table flipped over and fell to the ground, Zuyun's chaos sword was already attached with flames, and it penetrated and stabbed Li Qingyu. "What's going on?" Li Qingyu was shocked, and the insect control technique failed. When he used other means to deal with it, he was already stretched to the limit. He madly circulated his spiritual power and rushed to the ground in a panic. But where the sword light went, the pure fire power had already burned half of Li Qingyu's body. "Ah!" A scream arose, and the terrifying scorching heat of the burning sky flame seemed to penetrate Li Qingyu's body and point directly to the depths of his soul. Behind him, the dancers had already fled in all directions. But the music girls hesitated in place. Until Shibola's voice sounded. "Sisters, Li Qingyu has imprisoned us for a long time. Little friend Yun is very powerful. Let's go together and help him." After the voice fell, Shibola drew out the jade flute from his waist again. The other female musicians also reacted and played their own instruments. The music gathered into one and rushed straight to Li Qingyu. But Li Qingyu looked at being easily injured by Zuyun, but these female musicians were just a little bit short. Looking for death. With a loud shout from Li Qingyu, these female musicians, including Shibola, were all shaken away. Zuyun's eyes condensed, and he quickly threw a Zhenwengzhou shield talisman behind him, and then he turned the sword, intending to kill him directly with the chaos sword. Unexpectedly, Li Qingyu had already rolled to a distance and stopped. At the same time, his body shape continued to twist and began to swell. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 458. This scene seemed very familiar to Zhu Yun. It's clearly the Demon King, who transformed into a human form. But, is Li Qingyu the Demon King? Obviously not. Otherwise, even if his Chaos Sword is attached to heavenly fire, it will never be able to achieve such an effect. Zhu Yun looked back and saw that all the music girls in Cibola were in disarray, lying on the ground and moaning continuously. Under their slightly coquettish clothes, there were occasional glimpses of spring. Zhu Yun looked away, knowing that they were seriously injured. Just now, they took action together under Shivalu's order. Although they did not know their own abilities, their intentions were visible to Zhu Yun. It's just that I have no time to take care of them at this time. Moo. At this time, Li Qingyu has revealed his true form. It is a big green bull. No wonder those melody not only did not hurt Li Qingyu at all, but turned out to be playing the piano to him. Li Qingyu stared at Zhu Yun with a pair of bull's eyes. He lowered his head slightly, and his pair of curved horns, although disadvantageous, carried a terrifying demonic power. Moo. Li Qingyu roared again, then suddenly kicked out his hind legs and rushed towards Zhu Yun. At this moment, Zhu Yun actually felt the vibration of the ground. What kind of power is this? Court death. Zhu Yun's eyes narrowed, and he spread Fen Tianyun's fire all over the Chaos Sword. Kill me. At this moment, Zhu Yun had almost used up all the power he could use at this moment. Fen Tianyun seemed to have noticed Zhu Yun's determination, and actually let out a clear roar. The Chaos Sword buzzed and trembled violently. But under the Wuji sword technique, the Chaos Sword was held tightly in Zhu Yun's hand. Li Qingyu's demon power is surging, and Zhu Yun is full of fighting spirit. Boom! The sword blade struck one of the horns, making a loud noise. Crack! Ft. The horns were broken, but Zhu Yun also spit out blood and flew backwards. Little friend Yun. Although Cibola fell to the ground and looked like he might die at any time, when he saw Zhu Yun being knocked away, he couldn't help but exclaimed. Boy! Li Qingyu's eyes were red, and the broken horns made him extremely angry, but this was enough to show that this Chaos Sword was a supreme treasure. But at this time, the demon power in his body was also in chaos. If you can break my horns, I will crush you to pieces. After saying that, Li Qingyu tilted his head slightly, pointed the remaining horn at Zhu Yun who was still in the air, and suddenly jumped out. The huge body, like a flying peak, crashed towards Zhu Yun. Little friend Yun. Cibola screamed in surprise, and when he saw Zhu Yun was about to be pinned by the horns, he suddenly flew out. How could her strength be able to block Li Qingyu's powerful blow? Cibola knew it, and so did all the music girls present. Therefore, she did not think about turning the corner on her own. Instead, he chose to block Li Qingyu's eyes. But this is tantamount to death. There was a muffled sound, and Cibola flew in front of Li Qingyu, blocking his eyes, but the horns hit her between the ribs. The horns came out of the body. Li Qingyu's castration had not stopped, and Shivalu was still facing Zhu Yun's direction. But the direction is off. When Zhu Yun landed, Li Qingyu passed by him. And Zhu Yun almost met Cibola face to face. Little friend Yun, save Dachan. Dachan. Li Dachan. He is also mining in Qingyu town. Li Qingyu had already rushed over and was more than 10 steps away from Zhu Yun. I promise you. Zhu Yun shouted loudly, and suddenly felt boundless power coming from his body, which immediately filled his whole body. The gushing chaos force continuously repaired the shock injury he had just cut off the horn of the cow. For a moment, his whole body was smooth. It seems that the lines have killed all the corpse insects, and the seed gap has opened again. Boy, I just let you live a few more breaths. Are you worthy of fighting with me, Li Qingyu? Li Qingyu turned around, flicked his head, and threw Cibolo out. At the same time, he rushed towards Zhu Yun again. Without Shivalu's obstruction, this time, Li Qingyu thought he could kill Zhu Yun with one blow. It looked like Zhu Yun had the upper hand and cut off his horn. In fact, Li Qingyu knew very well that his unicorn was comparable to a spiritual treasure. That is the magic weapon used in the nascent soul stage. Zhu Yun was only at the stage of forming pills. No matter how powerful his sword was, the counterattack he received was real. Otherwise, he wouldn't spit out blood. Li Qingyu, the only one who must die is you. Zhu Yun held the chaos sword in front of him, and Li Qingyu also rushed over. Thunder comes. Roaring in his heart, the chaos power in his body instantly rushed towards the chaos sword. Suddenly, thunder and lightning exploded. Thunder snakes are constantly spinning and jumping on the chaos sword. Heavenly thunder has a natural restraint effect on monsters. Li Qingyu is no exception. Although he can transform, it is because of the unique elixir that his strength does not reach the level of the Demon King. In other words, he is actually not much different from those demon foxes who were forced to take the transformation pill. However, Li Qingyu was in a special situation. Since the Beast Pet Pavilion mainly focuses on beast pets, it naturally has methods that are very understandable to the beast pets. Li Qingyu is actually one of its products. But as long as you don't reach the Demon King realm, you will have an instinctive fear of thunder. Not to mention, Zhu Yun's thunder spirit power was transformed from the power of chaos and was extremely pure. Zi La. The chaos sword slashed down, and Li Qingyu came with great force. By the time he reacted and wanted to stop, it was already too late. Originally, I thought that the distance of more than 10 steps would make it impossible for Zhu Yun to dodge. But he didn't expect that this would restrict his escape distance. While the Chaos Sword was holding Li Qingyu back, the Thunder Spirit power on it also quickly climbed up Li Qingyu's body. In the blink of an eye, Li Qingyu was like a huge thunder ball. Countless thunder spiritual powers wreaked havoc on Li Qingyu's body and skin. Even his oxtail, which was as thick as a forearm, was electrified by the thunder spirit and stood upright. The boundless pain caused fear to occupy Li Qingyu's entire mind. He wanted to ask for mercy, but he couldn't do it. Zhu Yun channeled all his murderous intent into the slash. The Chaos Sword was also placed on Li Qingyu's head. Thunder spiritual power continued to pour into his body, and the thunder ball continued to grow in size. Finally, Li Qingyu's body could no longer hold up and fell to the ground, no longer alive. Until his death, he never figured out why Zhu Yun suddenly exploded with several times his previous combat power. Ming Ming had cut off one of his horns with a full sword strike before. But the last sword killed him directly. With Li Qingyu's death, all the lightning on his body also dissipated. After Zhu Yun confirmed it without a doubt, he rushed to Sibylla. "Yun, little friend Yun, you are indeed amazing." The corners of Sibylla's smiling mouth were stained with blood. She was so angry that she didn't die on the spot, so her vitality was considered to be tenacious enough. "This, Mr. Yun." At this time, a woman behind him came forward, and Zhu Yun recognized her. She was the only one among these happy girls who was in the pill formation stage. Zhu Yun ignored it, but took out a pill from the storage bag and quickly fed it to her. Red blood pill. This is the only elixir he can use during the foundation building stage. At that time, I still got it from Ye Xianming to replenish qi and blood. But whether Sibylla can be saved is still open to question. Little friend Yun. Sibyllla's complexion improved a little. She sat up slightly and said, "The little girl won't live long, so don't waste any more pills. It's better to hurry up and save Dachan, he is mining in the number 1 mine." "You." Zhu Yunke said one word before he was interrupted by Sibylla. There is no way I can be saved. My heart is about to break and the Taoist platform is also damaged. Looking at Cibolo smiling miserably, Zhu Yun felt mixed emotions in his heart. Little friend Yun, MRS, she just asks you to save Dachan for the sake of our acquaintance, and then let him go back to Yunzhou. Don't tell him that I am dead. Zhu Yun took a deep breath and asked, what about you, what are your last wishes? It seemed that the effect of the medicine had worn off, and Cibolo's qi and blood quickly subsided. Not only did his face turn pale again, but his speech also became intermittent. These sisters, will arrange for me. After saying that, she tilted her head and her life was gone. Shibala. Zhu Yun couldn't help but shout. Master Yun. The Danja female cultivator suddenly spoke again. Zhu Yun then turned around, and unconsciously, his eyes were bloodshot. The female cultivator was startled and said quickly, Sister, she has already said that if there is a chance to escape, we will go to Muling Sacred Mountain together. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 459. Zhu Yun's expression suddenly froze. After rescuing Li Mo here, he originally planned to go to the demon control sect to inquire about the Muling Sacred Mountain. But at this time, the female cultivator said as if they knew. Why go to Muling Holy Mountain? She wholeheartedly asked me to rescue Li Dachan, but ended up being separated. When he was still in Yunzhou, Zhu Yun knew that the two of them had a very good relationship, which was different from ordinary monks and Taoists. Just before Cibolo died, she begged Zhu Yun to save Li Dachan. Sister, she said. The female cultivator burst into tears and sobbed. She said her body was not clean and she had no face to face Li Dachan, so she wanted to go to Muling Holy Mountain. Zhu Yun was silent, then said, Then do you know where the Muling Sacred Mountain is? After saying that, he also glanced at the faces of all the musicians. They all nodded. Zhu Yun took a deep breath and said without hesitation, It just so happens that I have nowhere to go. I'll go take a look when things are over here. What? The expressions of all the female cultivators changed drastically. Especially the female cultivator in the Dan formation stage said anxiously, Master Yun, it is not easy to enter the holy mountain of wood spirit. Zhu Yun's face darkened and he said, Why, you can go, but I can't. Master Yun misunderstood. The female cultivator shook her head quickly and said, The little girl is a mountain guard in Muling Holy Mountain. She can bring female cultivators in, but she cannot bring male cultivators in. Please forgive me, Mr. Yun. Zhu Yun was stunned. Mountain Keeper? Seeing Zhu Yun's confusion, the female cultivator smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Yun, the little girl didn't hide it intentionally, but many years ago, the little girl was kidnapped by Li Qingyu and became a piano player. In fact, the little girl is a famous dryad. Zhu Yun was even more surprised. In the 100,000 mountains, he had only heard that only the Demon King realm could transform into a human being. But after arriving in the Peepa realm, or to be precise, after coming into contact with the pet pavilion, he saw this extraordinary scene many times. Then you can also return to your original form? Zhu Yun asked quickly. The female cultivator shook her head, sighed, and said, Because of this, I can only return to Muling Holy Mountain. Then they are all the same as you. Zhu Yun pointed at the other happy girls and said, They are all Li Qingyu. If they were kidnapped from various places in the Beast Pet Pavilion, it's just that we were imprisoned in the same place by Li Qingyu, so we are familiar with each other. Moreover, we have sworn an oath of heaven. If there is a chance to escape, we will rely on each other and never be separated again. After hearing this, Zhu Yun was silent again for a long time before he said, I don't care if you are a mountain guard or not, I do want to go to Muling Holy Mountain. Even if you don't tell me this, I will still go to Muling Holy Mountain. Master Yun. The female cultivator became anxious and said, the holy mountain of wood spirit has changed a long time ago, and not everyone can enter it. And I am not the only one who guards the mountain. You don't need to say anything, Zuyun waved his hand and interrupted her, saying, if it's convenient for you, take me to the foot of Muling Holy Mountain, and I'll find a way to get in on my own. If that doesn't work, then I'll find a way on my own. Hit the location of Muling Sacred Mountain. Master Yun, this. The female cultivator did not expect that Zuyun did not force her, which surprised her. No wonder, Sibylla risked his life to help him win a chance. At that time, she thought this was an extremely unwise move. After all, at that time, Sibylla and the others took action together, and everyone was injured. She was a little better, after all, she was very strong. Although she suffered a blowback, Li Qingyu was on fire at the time and fought back with his roar, so the injury was not too serious. The rest of Li Nu, no matter how serious they are not fatal. It's up to you. Now that you are free, leave. I believe that with your current state, it is not difficult to get out of Qingyu town. Zuyun remembered that there was a period of forming pills here, but most of them were in the early stages. Moreover, Zuyun wanted to rescue Li Mo, so there was no reason to escort them out of town. Mr. Yun, my little lady seems to have heard you saying that you were looking for someone. How about, we help you find someone to repay the favor of saving your life? Zuyun raised his eyebrows, this is not bad. So, he immediately agreed and said, that's fine, let's find someone together, and then after you follow me out of Qingyu town, you can each settle down with your destiny. The female cultivator was immediately overjoyed and said, thank you so much, Mr. Yun. My little girl's surname is Mu and her given name is Qingxin. Mu Qingxin. Zuyun was stunned for a moment. Sir, it's wood. Mu Qingxin hurriedly said, it concerns the little girl's life experience. I hope Mr. Yun won't ask further questions. Zuyun couldn't help but think of the fake wood spirit bead that he had sunk at the bottom of the volcano, and he didn't know if Mu Qingxin was dead. I don't even know what the relationship between Mu Qingxin and the mountain guard is. She took a deep breath and threw all the distracting thoughts out of her mind. Just as she was about to leave with a group of music girls, Mu Qingxin suddenly said, Sir, the horns of this Li Qingyu can be used to refine a good magical weapon. Zuyun suddenly came back to his senses. Indeed, although he had cut down one with the chaos sword before, he was also greatly shocked. I happen to be good at refining weapons, so I can put them away. Thanks for the reminder. Zuyun first put away the broken horns and then walked up to Li Qingyu holding the chaos sword. As soon as he gathered the power of chaos and cut off the other horn with a sword, he realized something was wrong again. If the lack of counterattack could be attributed to Li Qingyu being dead and unable to resist. So, what's the explanation for the sword feeling like it's cutting through iron like clay? He looked at the chaos sword in his hand, but there was no change. Then, the problem lies in the power of chaos. He quickly looked inside and was shocked when he saw it. It turned out that there were countless corpses of corpse insects around the seeds in the lower abdomen. But at this time, there was not a single corpse insect in sight. The gap in the seed was still the same as before, but faintly, he saw what seemed to be a pointed bud. Have the seeds sprouted? Absorbed the corpse of a corpse insect? A kind of coldness suddenly appeared all over Zuyun's body. He couldn't help but shudder. When he broke through from the foundation building stage and formed seeds, Zuyun also thought about whether the seeds would sprout in his body. But after a long time, there was almost no change in the seeds, but at this moment, there were suddenly signs of germination, which made him not panic. Master Yun. At this time, Mu Kingzin saw Zuyun cutting off the horns without putting them away, and couldn't help but ask doubtfully. "Ah, it's okay." Zuyun quickly came to his senses, took a deep breath, calmed down his chaotic mood, and said, "It's time to go." After saying that, he put away the horns and put them in the storage bag. When there is a chance, he will put it in the immortal mansion. Walked all the way outside. Not a single figure was seen at all. I think it was his fight with Li Qingyu that scared everyone away. As for the tea-picking girls, Zuyun didn't see them either. He never thought about those female nuns. Walking to the courtyard, the door is closed. "Master Yun, there are several formations here, which is why we can't escape." Mu Kingzin seemed to be the leader of these happy girls and spoke. Zuyun asked, "Then are there corpse worms in your body?" Everyone's expressions changed and they nodded sadly. Mu Qing said heartily, "Master Yun, the entire Qingyu town, even Li Qingyu, has corpse worms in his body. It's just that the corpse worm pills Li Qingyu takes when working for Wuchideo are slightly different from the ones we take." Wuchideo. It's Mr. Wu. Zuyun secretly remembered the name in his heart and asked, "Then what is Wuchideo's background?" "I heard from Li Qingyu that although he is not Yuanying, he has strength comparable to Yuanying. He is the leader of the puppet-controlling demon sect." Mu Kingzin's answer did not surprise Zuyun. After killing Zhen Wengziu, he had already guessed it. Unexpectedly, Zuyun was completely shocked by what Mu Kingzin said next. "I heard the Holy Tree once say that the successive masters of the puppet control demon sect have always been the same person. Because they have the method of reincarnation, and they continue to reincarnate and practice. After 9 times, they will become Yuanying, and their strength will look down on the entire mortal world. And he now, 9 generations have passed, and when the nascent soul is destroyed again, I am afraid that all the monks in the mortal world will become his puppets." Zuyun's breath suddenly stagnated. Wuchideo is so terrifying? That's why he was named Wuchideo. It means that his Deo came late. Mu Kingzin said, "This is why we said we would leave here and take refuge in Muling Holy Mountain. Because in the entire spiritual world, only Muling Holy Mountain can protect us." Zuyun's mood could not calm down for a long time. Because he knew that Wuchideo had said that he would come to Qingyu town in a few days. "Master Yun," Mu Kingzin said again at this time, "the formations here are all soundproofing and trapping people. There is no harm. People outside are not aware of the great changes here. However, if we want to leave, we can only forcefully break the formation. The little girl is afraid that there will be too much movement." Breaking the formation? Zuyun came back to his senses, used the shattering void spirit eye technique, and saw all the formation patterns clearly, and then said lightly, "Follow my pace." After that, he made many twists and turns, and after a moment, he disappeared from their eyes. For a moment, all the musicians exclaimed, "Array Master! I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 460. In the Peeper realm, there are many people who know how to set up formations, but they are all very common formations. For him, the formation can only be used as a supplement. Almost everyone knows these simple formation restrictions. Usually when someone else's restrictions are broken, they just use brute force to blast them away. It is rare to hear of people like Zuyun who directly saw through the formation pattern and left calmly. This kind of thing is what he calls an array master. Just because the practice of Peeper realm is more popular, unlike Yao realm, due to limited cultivation, many people can only improve their strength through formations. Because of this, people with extraordinary talents like Tang Tiangang appeared. Therefore, when Zuyun walked out of the formation in an understatement, they were naturally extremely surprised. Just as these people were looking at each other, Zuyun appeared in front of them again. "Why don't you follow?" Zuyun frowned and asked. He went out. After waiting for a while, he didn't find anyone following him, so he returned and entered the mansion. This. Mu Kingzin said helplessly, we thought Mr. Yun would forcefully break the formation, so we didn't follow him. Zhu Yun raised his eyebrows, but didn't say anything more. He just emphasized, follow up. He followed the formation pattern again, but at a much slower pace. I can see through the formation patterns, but these female cultivators cannot. After a while, everyone appeared at the door of the mansion. The look on his face was no longer so surprised, because he had already seen what Zhu Yun was capable of. And even more, it's excitement. Let's go to mine number 2 first, it's closer. Zhu Yun took the girls and walked along the foot of the mountain. This place is close to the mayor's mansion and there are no monks here. Moreover, they were not very powerful, with only 7 people in total. It wasn't until they reached the edge of the mine that they attracted the attention of the mine guards. Zhu Yun was about to kill him by force, but was stopped by Mu Kingzin. Master Yun, there are some alchemy monks on the outskirts of the town, let us come. Zhu Yun was slightly stunned, and after nodding in agreement, he saw Mu Kingzin take out a guhan from his sleeve. She pinched several spells in her hand, and the guhan suddenly hung in front of her. Then, Mu Kingzin put her hand on the strings. I saw her 10 white and slender fingers constantly dancing on the strings, and a piece of music came out melodiously and floated towards the entrance of the mine. Hey, did you hear anything? One of the guards pricked up his ears, but was unable to determine the location. The companion beside him, a little away from him, said disdainfully, are you afraid that you are hallucinating? There is a music girl at the mayor's place, but there is also a soundproofing ban in the mayor's mansion. How can you hear it? The guard shook his head and said, I really heard it. It sounded really good. It made me feel stiff all over. Ha! The companion smiled contemptuously and said, I know you have been to the mayor's mansion last time, and I also know that there are so many beauties there. But your concentration is really weak. You'd better stop thinking about it. What are you dreaming about in broad daylight? I told you clearly, why don't you believe me? I really heard it. The guard couldn't help but said angrily. But King Yu suppressed fighting, so he could only stare angrily. Real. Seeing this, his companion couldn't help but lean towards him and listen attentively. Also at this time, the tune suddenly changed again. Just because other musicians' instruments were added. But except for Sibylla Xiao, there are some shortcomings. But it's enough to deal with these guards who are only in the foundation building stage. Soon, the eyes of these 2 guards gradually became blank. Until they were completely immersed in the rhythm, Mu Kingzin winked at Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun understood, holding the chaos sword in hand, and rushed forward quickly with the steps of the secret of immortality. Not even a single bit of spiritual power was used, not even the immortality technique. The 2 guards were not awakened at all, but were stabbed to the core by Zhu Yun's chaos sword. The power of the chaos sword alone is overkill for dealing with the foundation building stage. Until their death, the 2 guards had a satisfied and lustful smile on their faces. They did not feel a trace of pain and died in their spring and autumn big head dream. When Mu Kingzin saw this, she was secretly happy. She put away the guhan and led the girls towards Zhu Yun to meet up. Master Yun, should we stay here and guard, or? No problem, follow me down to the mine, and by the way, collect all their bodies. Waiting for the Le girls to enter the mine, Zhu Yun took out a few spiritual stones from his waist and threw them at the entrance of the cave. A 9-turn 9-yang formation suddenly took shape. Such a method shocked all the musicians again. I can't help but feel admiration from all of them. Even if they don't recognize this formation, they can still tell that this formation is extremely mysterious and very different from ordinary low-level formations. It is definitely more than just sound insulation. Mu Kingzin said quickly, Master Yun, Are you going to start a killing spree here? Well, this formation is to prevent them from escaping and leaking information, and it is also to prevent them from shouting and attracting people from outside. Zuyun explained and then said, now you can guard the entrance of the cave. You are strong or weak? If you encounter a strong enemy, you may not have time to take care of it. On the contrary, you are familiar with each other and cooperate with each other tacitly. When you encounter some stragglers, should be able to deal with it, right? Don't worry, Mr. Yun, Mu Kingzin said proudly, as long as there are no monks who know how to control insects, they will basically not hurt us. Zuyun nodded, and then rushed into the depths of the mine. After running for a long time, some mines slowly extended out on both sides of the main mine, crisscrossing like old trees with roots, and I don't know where they lead. Zuyun was not afraid of being discovered, so he tried to use his spiritual sense to investigate. Who would have thought that, for some unknown reason, the spiritual consciousness here is limited and cannot be separated from the whole body at all? How can I find this? Zuyun frowned, but then relaxed. The outside of the cave has been blocked by the 9 turns and 9 suns formation. Aren't you afraid that there will be too much movement? If you were still searching so carefully, how could you find Li Mo? Thinking of this, he froze and pointed the chaos sword forward. Neither fire spiritual power nor thunder spiritual power was used. He directly used the power of chaos to condense his sword energy and shot it out deep into the mine. The gray-white sword energy made a whistling sound and soon disappeared into the darkness. But then, the echo of the sound came, echoing continuously in the mine. Who is making a noise here? At this time, a man suddenly came out of a nearby mine. When he saw Zuyun, he yelled and cursed. Zuyun looked back and couldn't help but smile. You dare to yell at him even in the foundation building period? Before he could put away his smile, Zuyun saw the foundation building period man suddenly kneeling to the ground, kowtowing 3 times, and then loudly said, I don't know which deacon is here. I am ignorant and don't recognize adults. Zuyun was stunned and suddenly realized that he was probably the steward in the mine during the foundation building period. He must have recognized himself as a figure in the town. As soon as he rolled his eyes, he knew what he was doing, and pretended to say, get up. From today on, I will be in charge of this mine. Send an order to summon all the miners here. The foundation building period hurriedly stood up, smiled and took out a bag from his arms, and handed it to him flatteringly, I wonder what you call me? Little Zhang-san is the steward of this mine. Zuyun was not polite and took it directly, saying, let everyone come here to see me. Yes, sir. Zuyun was not polite when he saw him, and the steward beamed with joy. It seems that they have been here for a long time and have come into contact with many big figures. We are not afraid of adults being greedy, but we are afraid that adults are not greedy enough. By the way, sir, would you like to go into the small rest room and sit down? The mayor gave me some green ox breakfast earlier. No need. Zuyun's face darkened when he heard Xing Niuzhao, and he waved his hand to interrupt him. It was from King Niuzhao that I was hit by the attack, so I relaxed my vigilance and finally got hit by the corpse insect pill. Fortunately, the lines on the seed coat can restrain the corpse insects. Otherwise, I might be the one standing here smiling coquettishly. There is no way to escape the fate of mining. Yes, I'm being abrupt, I'll do it right away. The steward was startled and quickly backed away. Not long after, from the depths of the mine came the sound of distant and overlapping footsteps. Zuyun raised his eyebrows. It seems that this mine may also have a sound transmission jade talisman. Otherwise, I had just asked the steward to do it, and there was something happening immediately. I just don't know if Li Mo is in the mine here. By the way, there's also Li Dachan. He had promised Sibylla. Just as he was thinking about it, a monk in the alchemy stage with a bag on his back and a mining pickaxe in his hand walked up to Zuyun, dragging heavy shackles. When he saw Zhu Yunzi, a light suddenly flashed in his eyes. But he didn't expect that this light would be discovered by Zhu Yun's void-breaking spiritual eye technique. But, he didn't know this miner.